What up, everybody? Welcome to the Persist Green Podcast. I'm your host, Donnie Cash 818, joined by Reese's Patriot and the Average Liberal. I don't know which of you guys might have seen the first episode. We're going to be doing it a little bit different from now on. This is going to be something we hope to do pretty much every day. It's going to be kind of like your daily rundown of what you might have missed on Twitter, maybe a deep dive here and there, some comedy, some rants, kind of get that weight off of our chests. So hopefully we'll have some fun, and hopefully a lot of y'all come back and join us, many more times to come. So with that, let's go to our first segment, which is the Average Liberals Fact Check. We're going to be talking about the coverage of the Jamal Khashoggi murder. And I could really go on a rant about that myself. But AL, what do you got for us?
So I'm going to jump in here real quick. And AL, I'm really interested in the fact that, you speak four languages fluently and probably have some insights that we're not all seeing in this. Although, there was some pretty obvious stuff that, we can all say, wow, that's just wrong. But, we see Biden, he released this report on the Saudi prince and on the Khashoggi killings, and Trump, the man was on record multiple times defending the prince of the murder. And then we have this whole Jared Kushner deal of, walks back home with billions in loans. So, I'd like to hear from you a little bit on the background on this story, because I know you've been following it real closely.
Well, it's kind of funny because it doesn't get as much as coverage as I was hoping it was going to get. Because, obviously with the Trump administration recently, everything with what's going on, we have no time to focus on one current event. There's always something new happening. So we need to always switch focuses to something more shocking, from the GOP side, which sucks. So basically, I went a little bit to do some digging, and I found out some good information about actually the chronological time order, the timeline of what actually happened. And not so many people might know, but Trump has had relationship with the Saudis. For decades, literally. There was one time.
Can you pinpoint the first big deal that you know about?
So let me take a look at quickly at my note. Well, he bragged about Saudi Arabians buying his apartment. He openly bragged about about it and everything. And if you remember when Trump did the Muslim ban not so long ago, one of the countries that wasn't banned was Saudi Arabia, which is funny enough because if you look at 9/11, the hijackers were Saudi Arabians. So why would the president of the United States not include the very same people that were sentenced guilty of hijacking a plane and flying it into the tower? And you also have to look at the fact that they brought a lot of property from Trump. They when they come down to America, where do you think they stay? Trump hotels. So I looked into the relationship, how everything it started, and basically it took me down to that path. And then you also have the ties of Jared Kushner. You have a lot of weird coincidences that happened, like after Kushner went to visit the Saudi Arabian royal family. When he came back to America.
Chronological that for us, please.
Excuse me, what did you say?
Chronological that, so we all know that Jared Kushner went over and came back with some cash, but there were a lot of things that happened politically during that period of time.
So it's kind of scary when you think about what happened, because back then, at that time, when Jared Kushner was sent to Saudi Arabia, when he came back, the royal family, the royal prince Ben Salman, he actually, executed a lot of people. A lot of people ended up being literally murdered after Kushner came back.
Are we talking like 50, 100, 1,000?
I'm talking about between 50 and 100 people, loyalists to the royal family, because people need to know that the royal family, there's everybody wants to fight for the throne, everybody wants to be the next king. So you had Mohammed bin Salman, who's the current prince of the royal family, who wanted to betray. He actually betrayed his own cousin, for the throne. So both of them were, next in line for the throne. But Saudi Arabia has a lots of money. So obviously, fuck family when there's money involved, and it shows you how money can literally, tear families apart. So basically, it's kind of a funny coincidence that Kushner was there kissing the prince's ass, and after he came back to America, a lot of people got killed. And I don't know if you remember that, but after Kushner came back after he came back to the States, let me just go check out of my notes. So after Kushner came back to America, the Prince bin Salman, when he took over, he purged the royal family rivals. When I say he purged, he actually arrested between 60 and 80 people of his own from his own family, and who were staying at the Ritz Carlton in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. He actually shut down the entire hotel and he turned it into a temporary prison to arrest all of his rivals that were actually
So
posing a
let
threat
me
to his
ask you
throne.
this. Let me ask you this real quick, Farouk. So the prince stated numerous times that he had Jared Kushner in his pocket. Do you
Yeah,
think that Jared Kushner, um, I don't know how to put this, but gave him the political power to pull this off? I mean, did our government help him secure that power?
of course he did. I mean, if you look at Trump's shady business practices, even before he was president, he was doing some shady stuff, not only with local business people, but I mean, with overseas business people. So when
That,
you
that
give,
that's pay to play. So Jared helps him secure his power, and Jared gets. Do you? I don't remember how big the loan was, but I know it was over $1 billion.
yeah, I think not so long we found out New York Times released an article with the exact amount, and I think even Trump, I don't want to say it's a fact that he actually confirmed it, but he wasn't he wasn't neglecting the talk about owning money to a country like that. But yeah, the prince openly bragged about having Jared Kushner in his pocket. Literally, he was heard saying that.
I read those articles, and when I read them, everybody was screaming about it. And I look back at how powerless we were with blatant corruption. That I mean, if it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, my gosh, this is a duck, man.
Yeah, I know.
I'm intrigued over the fact that a man, not only was he was, our government helped send him over, and not only did they kill him, but they sawed him up into pieces, and then nobody knows what happened. His family never gets closure.
And funny thing is, after that happened, the media started putting pressure on Trump about, talking about it because I mean, everybody wanted to know answers. But I don't know if you remember, but when it actually happened, it was the big mystery of that time. Nobody knew what happened. How could a journalist go to Istanbul and, get his head chopped off? Then Trump openly bragged how he saved the Saudis' prince ass after, Khashoggi's brutal murder. He was saying, I
Because
quote, I saved his ass.
he figured out with his cohorts around him that nobody could do anything to him. So open his big fat mouth now. And I look at this as, you got to remember that there were other things going on during the time around the world, and he had different people in embassies that were there was problems like over in Ukraine was starting to happen about that time. There were rumblings around in these different uh, people inside of him, and to me, this was his way of sending a message. Go ahead, you're out of the country. Watch what happens. That's the chill that sent down my spine. I think journalists pretty much understand that. Under Trump, they were a target, but I think that that's not who he was speaking to when he sent that message. I think he was speaking to people inside of him. You mess with me and watch.
Yeah,
That's what it
exactly.
felt like to me.
Well, you have to look at it that way. I mean, Trump is a shady guy to begin with. So, I mean, of course, he wanted to suck up to the Saudi Arabians. And he even said it. He even said it like he said it. He bragged about how he got to Congress to cool off, how he got Congress to lay off his back and everything. And Trump is going to incriminate himself. Like, he's a narcissistic guy, so like he would admit his own crime if it meant like for somebody to know that he was like a cool guy. I don't know how I want to say it. Like he came out on top. He's dumb.
I gotta think that if that was a true, I mean that's a pretty blatant pay to play. That the Fed's got to be looking at Jared Kushner. I mean that's a straight up, we got you more power and you got me $1 billion loan. You can't really walk around that fact with that.
I know, and something that
the Fed's got to be looking at him. If they're not, shame on them.
Well, yeah, I mean, and also would like to add, like maybe people might think that we're sticking our blame on Trump, but I mean, even Biden, what he's doing right now, I'm not, why isn't he doing any more serious sanctions than that? He's not doing enough.
I got an opinion on that. So you look at my mom and I were talking about this. She's kind of been following this too, and one of the things she was saying is, Biden's a pretty fair guy, so give the old man a chance to fix this first. That's the fair thing to do. If it doesn't get fixed, that's when you move. And I think that's kind of, because what I've seen of Biden, he does that. He says, okay, I'm going to give you a chance to fix this. They don't fix it. And, we just saw the firepower he's willing to lay down. I don't think he's scared to lay down firepower, but I do think he's a fair man in the sense that, that Prince's old man, I don't mean to call him an old man. I call my old man. But, the Prince's father, I think he deserves a chance to clean this up. It is, he has done some good things.
He did.
The father has.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. But
I've worked on projects over there. He was all for solar. He was looking at it more from the perspective of, why consume your own, drugs, basically.
And that part actually got me looking into some statistics like from recently, and I was looking to the statistics like the relationship that America has with Saudi Arabia throughout the years. I mean, and it regroups itself like to basically us being too dependent of them for like oil importation. Now we're less dependent than we were before, but we're still depending on them to import oil. But I think this is a good cause. This is a good, compelling, argument for us to switch to better energy, because like we gotta stop depending on others. This is a good reason. Like this is a good argument, to remove them from our relationship. We don't need them. We don't need them. Honestly, sorry, but we don't need Saudi Arabia to survive. So this is a compelling reason to switch to better energy.
I was part of a team that we did a study on the cost of what we pay for guarding oil coming out of the Middle East. Think about this, guys. So, we've got these huge carriers that sit in the strait over there, and their job is to make sure that nobody messes with oil going in and out. Each one of those carriers are multi-billion-dollar affairs, and our government's paying for that. The oil company's not paying for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's just one of the costs of how we're paying for this. Let's talk about the wars. We're the ones, it's our fault these guys got the money to come after us. We've been buying their oil. And you know what? It's not wrong to help another country build up their economy. But when that country's got guns pointed at you, quit giving them money. And, we don't need oil that bad anymore. We have ways to change that. Solar works, wind works, geothermal works. We've got a lot of options. We also have one of the largest supplies of natural gas is sitting right underneath our feet. Midwest is leaking it like crazy. And there's places there that don't light a cigar. But, I do think that Jared, there's just no way, man. There is no way that guy, he couldn't get a loan anywhere else. And the one place he can get it is the one place that, he helps secure power for a guy.
Quid pro quo.
Exactly.
Quid pro quo. When that came up, the first time I heard quid pro quo, I thought this was what they were talking about. And then I saw it was Ukraine. I'm like, Ukraine, what? And to me, Ukraine was really weak compared to this one. I'm still perplexed that Congress didn't look at this and go, but I understand they had no investigative power because they had no control over
Exactly. I mean, the rules were different back then because Trump controlled the majority. So I mean, Congress wasn't going to look at it.
Well, I find it real interesting. I don't know if you guys watch CPAC. Let's walk into what happened today now. So I don't know if you watch CPAC, but I forced myself to watch Trump's media channel. That they say it's Trump's. I don't know if it is or not, but they're definitely for Trump and lying like crazy. But this CPAC thing, I was looking at it from the standpoint of when I watched Trump speak, he was real careful. He referred to Biden as the president. He's got a real different tone, although it's the same lies, whatever. But there is definitely there's a difference. And that man doesn't move unless he's scared.
I think he's scared. I mean, especially with the tax reports. And even with this report, I don't know if you guys remember, but he was fighting really hard to actually not have this report released. He was clinging on his presidency to not have this report released. And he was
I think it
claiming
was
it was
one of
like
the only reasons he wanted to
yeah.
stay president.
And he was also claiming it was a political attack, which was bullshit because like everything that's aimed at him, he considers it being a political attack. But anyways, like he was fighting really hard to not release this to not release this Khashoggi murder report.
Yeah, I just for me it was a matter of I think that those taxes are going to show a lot of connections to multiple money sources and multiple debts. And here we had a man sitting in the Oval Office that, some of those debts were people that, when they collect, you don't have the money and things happen.
Yeah.
I've had to, go raise money before, and I've talked to some of these boys, and I sure wouldn't take their money, and he has.
Well, on that note, I think this was a really good episode of the Persist Media Podcast. We're gonna bid you adieu for this episode, and we're gonna let that rant run as soon as we fade to black after this. So once again, thanks for tuning in. Look forward to doing it many more times again in the future, and we will see you on the internet. Peace.
Thank you.